How goes the family? Welcome back to Patterson L Properties. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Definitely making a video early this week because, I got some things I have to do real estate wise this week and they're going to get done in a timely manner. But anyways, today's subject matter is kind of like a rant. I'm talking about real estate within quote unquote lower income areas or what used to be considered lower income areas. Now, let's take a look at areas around the United States that were, in that category. Areas that most people didn't want to live in back in the 80s and the 90s. If they could afford to not live there, they would not live in these specific areas. And now these areas are considered the most expensive areas to live in within the United States of American borders. Remember, the people who are prosperous within the United States of America are the ones who not only take the risks and definitely think and live outside of the normal quote unquote box family. Let's start with three cities that I am very familiar with within the United States borders, and I'm sure you are as well. We'll start, we'll go over New York City, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. But we'll start with New York City. Places like Brooklyn, New York, Queens, and the Bronx were considered some of the most dangerous areas to reside in within the United States for decades. Now, if one owns real estate in any of these areas, they benefit tremendously, especially if the real estate was passed down from previous generations. I mean, the average housing price in New York City as a whole is about $670,000. It was higher earlier, because one thing is for sure that the prices of real estate in New York City has actually been kind of slightly going down because of a multiple variety of reasons, and COVID-19 just intensified these reasons. And the fact that the population is starting to go down in New York City because people are tired of high cost of living and the crime, amongst other things. Okay, I mean, there's been a big shift of people leaving New York City. I'd say for probably for the last 20 years right now, but it's been a much more of an increase within the last 2 years and whatnot because of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Still, if one owns even a lot in New York City, they can benefit tremendously, especially because of Wall Street, Broadway, banking sector, Federal Reserve, multiple corporations, and the UN headquarters, and much more than I've mentioned. New York City does have a robust economy. Nobody's going to argue that. They just have a lot of other things that a lot of people don't even want to get involved with it. Now, let's go to the capital of the United States of America, Washington, D.C., and like any city, there's good, bad, and the ugly. You can't show me a major city that doesn't have anything bad about it. I've been to places like Dallas, which is very beautiful, but Dallas has hoods. Houston, Texas, very beautiful city. Every city has a good part of town and a bad part of town. So you can't escape it, all right? Unless you're rich and you live in a gated community. That's just how I look at it. But anyways, I digress. Okay. So one thing is for sure that if one owns real estate and on any level in the city of Washington, D.C., they're still sitting on a gold mine. Even if the real estate is located in a quote unquote bad areas, you have the mecca of the federal government, the military, government contractors, nonprofit organizations, medical, and Amazon's new East Coast headquarters that's arriving in the Northern Virginia area. The average price of a home within the Washington, D.C. area runs between 490 to 555,000. I keep telling people that Washington D.C. metropolitan area, meaning Northern Virginia and Maryland, meaning Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and all those areas within a 20 to 30-minute radius, it isn't that far as far as cost of living from Los Angeles metropolitan area cost of living. When it comes to owning real estate as an investor and even being a homeowner, all of these things need to be in the back of our mind. What are the industries within the specific areas that make the real estate valuable now and valuable later? Okay, because another thing is, hey, a house just got did a fix and flip in my neighborhood. Somebody bought the taxes. This is for you investors in the Northern Virginia area. Somebody bought the taxes on the property. They paid way less for the property, obviously, because they just paid the taxes off. They bought it at a tax lien and whatnot. And they waited a year, and the people who own the property obviously did not pay the taxes, so the people got the house. And what did they do? They did a fix and flip, and now they're selling the house for they got the house, but not even $100,000. Okay, they got the house for like $20,000 to $30,000. They put probably $180,000 to $100,000 of money into the house, but now they're selling the house for about $490,000. So you do the math and see if it works for you. That's how I look at it. Just giving out a situation that just happened in my neighborhood now. It's on the market. And even in the COVID-19 economy, houses are selling like hotcakes. Like I said, my real estate Asian friends are killing it in the game, especially in the DMV area. Okay. Now, last, but definitely not least, let's take a look at the city of Angels, my favorite city, Los Angeles, California. The average price of a home in LA is about 500 to 53,000, varies depending on the part of the city that you're living in. Obviously, if you're going to Beverly Hills, I'm just talking about areas where the quote unquote working people live at, not the rich people. Okay, big difference. Which always amazes me because LA, you have homes that like worth 50 to 80 million $1 trillion homes and whatnot. So you got real money going on there. So that's what I said. I'm talking about areas where the quote unquote working people live at. But anyways, it always amazes me because at the end of the day, the cost of living in a place like Los Angeles compared to to New York City, you would think LA would be much more expensive than New York City, but New York City tops LA. But same as New York City, so it always amazes me. The areas like South Central LA, aka Compton, Watts, Inglewood, Crenshaw, and East LA, Long Beach, California, used to be considered the most dangerous areas to reside in, and now are considered to be the most expensive areas to reside in within the United States of America. And if you are a landlord, or if you have passed down real estate from generation to generation, you're killing it financially nowadays. A friend of mine I know who grew up in South Los Angeles, near the Watts area, but not exactly in Watts. His house was passed down to his mother, and then his house from his mother was passed down to him. So, and his grandmother bought the house for $80,000. Now the house is worth almost $600,000. So once again, you do the math. You'd be a fool to give it away, and to sell it. And if you do, I hope you do make a money move with the property. Meaning buy more real estate. But that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, so because you have a lot of people that in these major cities, generations of people lived in these areas. So I think it behooves anybody, if you can hold on to the real estate, do so, because people who've held on to real estate in places like Alexandria, Arlington, DC, because of Amazon coming, their property values are going to go way up. So it's just something to think about. Like I said, I'll leave it at that. But anyways, I could go on and on, about this stuff. But the moral of the story / rant is this, family. Whether you own a piece of land in a rural area, a lot of land in a rural area, or in a major city, a townhome in a major city, or if you just own real estate, period. As long as the area in itself isn't a depressed area, then eventually you will profit if obviously, you consult your financial professionals. So, because I'm not it. So if you want to win in today's and definitely tomorrow's economy, it's time to own something and pass down to each generation. All right. Leave some legacy from an economic standpoint. All right, family, not just good memories. Anyways, do me a great favor. And if you found this video to be valuable, like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully you have a great day. And as always, take care, family.